thus include all current and former members of the Commonwealth of Independent States. 160. The Euro-Atlantic Partnership Council, EAPC, was first established on the 29th of May, 1997, and is a forum for regular coordination, consultation and dialogue between all 50 participants. 161. The PFP program is considered the operational wing of Euro-Atlantic Partnership. 159. Other third countries have also been contacted for participation in some activities of PFP framework, such as Afghanistan. 162. The European Union, EU, signed a comprehensive package of arrangements with NATO under the Berlin Plus Agreement on the 16th of December, 2002. With this agreement, the EU was given the possibility of using NATO assets if it wanted to act independently in an international crisis, on the condition that NATO itself did not want to act, the so-called right of first refusal. 163. For example, Article 42(7) of the 1982 Treaty of Lisbon specifies that if a member state is the victim of armed aggression on its territory, the other member states shall have towards it an obligation of aid and assistance by all the means in their power. The treaty applies globally to specified territories, whereas NATO is restricted under its Article 6 to operations north of the Tropic of Cancer. It provides a double framework for the EU countries that are also linked with the PFP program. 164, 165. Additionally, NATO cooperates and discusses its activities with numerous other non-NATO members. The Mediterranean Dialogue was established in 1994 to coordinate in a similar way with Israel and countries in North Africa. The Istanbul Cooperation Initiative was announced in 2004 as a dialogue forum for the Middle East along the same lines as the Mediterranean Dialogue. The 4 participants are also linked through the Gulf Cooperation Council. 166. In June 2018, Qatar expressed a wish to join NATO. 167. Who ruled it out, saying that only additional European countries could join according to Article 10 of NATO's founding treaty. 168. Qatar and NATO had earlier signed a joint security agreement in January 2018. 169. Political dialogue with Japan began in 1990, and since then, the alliance has gradually increased its contact with countries that do not form part of any of these cooperation initiatives. 170. In 1998, NATO established a set of general guidelines that do not allow for a formal institutionalization of relations, but reflect the Allies' desire to increase cooperation. Following extensive debate, the term contact countries was agreed by the Allies in 2000. By 2012, the Alliance had broadened this group, which meets to discuss issues such as counter-piracy and technology exchange, under the names Global Partners or Partners Across the Globe. 171, 172. Australia and New Zealand, both contact countries, are also members of the AUKUS Strategic Alliance, and similar regional or bilateral agreements between contact countries and NATO members also aid cooperation. NATO Secretary-General Jens Stoltenberg stated that NATO needs to address the rise of China by closely cooperating with Australia, New Zealand, Japan and South Korea. 173. Colombia is NATO's latest partner and has access to the full range of cooperative activities offered. It is the first and only Latin American country to cooperate with NATO. 174, 175. Structure. All agencies and organizations of NATO are integrated into either the civilian administrative or military executive roles. For the most part they perform roles and functions that directly or indirectly support the security role of the alliance as a whole. The North Atlantic Council convened in 2010 with a defense forward/foreign minister configuration. The civilian structure includes the North Atlantic Council, NAC, is the body which has effective governance authority and powers of decision in NATO, consisting of member states' permanent representatives or representatives at high level, ministers of foreign affairs or defense, or heads of state or government. The NAC convenes at least once a week and takes major decisions regarding NATO's policies. The meetings of the North Atlantic Council are chaired by the Secretary General and, when decisions have to be made, action is agreed upon by consensus. 176. There is no voting or decision by majority. Each state represented at the council table or on any of its subordinate committees retains complete sovereignty and responsibility for its own decisions. 177. The NATO Parliamentary Assembly, NATO PAR, is a body that sets broad strategic goals for NATO which meets at 2 sessions per year. NATO PAR interacts directly with the parliamentary structures of the national governments of the member states which appoint permanent members, or ambassadors to NATO. The NATO Parliamentary Assembly is made up of legislators from the member countries of the North Atlantic Alliance as well as 13 associate members. It is, however, officially a structure different from NATO, and has as aim to join deputies of NATO countries in order to discuss security policies in the NATO Council. 178. NATO headquarters, located on Boulevard Leopold III/Leopold III Lan, B1110 Brussels, which is in the city of Brussels municipality. 179. The staff at the headquarters is composed of national delegations of member countries and includes civilian and military liaison offices and officers or diplomatic missions and diplomats of partner countries, as well as the international staff and international military staff filled from serving members of the armed forces of member states. 180. Non-governmental groups have also grown up in support of NATO, broadly under the banner of the Atlantic Council /Atlantic Treaty Association Movement. 181, 182. NATO is located in NATO. Shape. Shapage FPS. JFCBS JFCNP. Ercom. Ercom Landcom. Landcomacom. Markenstrick for NATO. Strick for NATO Act. HQ Saktivkenf. JFCNF JWC. JWC JFTC. Chfkjorg. JALLC School. Skoljsik. JSEC locations of NATO's 2 strategic commands: Allied Command Transformation, ACT, yellow marks, and Allied Command Operations, ACO, red marks, the latter of which has supreme headquarters Allied Powers Europe, SHAPE, as its headquarters. The subordinate centers of ACT and subordinate commands and joint force commands of ACO are also shown. The military structure includes the Military Committee, MC, is the body of NATO that is composed of member states' chiefs of defense, CHOD, and advises the North Atlantic Council, NAC, on military policy and strategy. The national CHODs are regularly represented in the MC by their permanent military representatives, MILREP, who often are 2 or 3-star flag officers. Like the Council, from time to time the Military Committee also meets at a higher level, namely at the level of Chiefs of Defense, the most senior military officer in each country's armed forces. The MC is led by its chairman, who directs NATO's military operations. 183. Until 2008 the Military Committee excluded France, due to that country's 1966 decision to remove itself from the NATO military command structure, which it rejoined in 1995. Until France joined NATO, it was not represented on the Defense Planning Committee, and this led to conflicts between it and NATO members. 184. Such was the case in the lead-up to Operation Iraqi Freedom. 185. The operational work of the committee is supported by the International Military Staff. Allied Command Operations, ACO, is the NATO command responsible for NATO operations worldwide. 186. The Rapid Deployable Corps include Eurocorps, German /Dutch Corps, Multinational Corps Northeast and NATO Rapid Deployable Italian Corps among others, as well as Naval High Readiness Forces, HRFs, which all report to Allied Command Operations. 187. Allied Command Transformation Act, responsible for transformation and training of NATO forces. 188. Legal authority of NATO commanders. NATO is an alliance of 31 sovereign states and their individual sovereignty is unaffected by participation in the alliance. NATO has no parliaments, no laws, no enforcement, and no power to punish individual citizens. As a consequence of this lack of sovereignty, the power and authority of a NATO commander are limited. NATO commanders cannot punish offenses such as failure to obey a lawful order, dereliction of duty, or disrespect to a senior officer. 189. NATO commanders expect obeisance but sometimes need to subordinate their desires or plans to the operators who are themselves subject to sovereign codes of conduct like the UCMJ. A case in point was the clash between General Sir Mike Jackson and General Wesley Clark over KFOR actions at Pristina Airport. 190. NATO commanders can issue orders to their subordinate commanders in the form of operational plans, OPLANs, operational orders, OPORDERs, tactical direction, or fragmental orders, FRAGOs, and others. The joint rules of engagement must be followed, and the law of armed conflict must be obeyed at all times. Operational resources remain under national command but have been transferred temporarily to NATO. Although these national units, through the formal process of transfer of authority, have been placed under the operational command and control of a NATO commander, they never lose their national character. Senior national representatives, like CDS, are designated as so-called red card holders. Caveats are restrictions listed nation by nation, that NATO commanders must take into account. 189. See also. Atlanticism. Common security and defense policy of the European Union. History of the common security and defense policy. Ranks and insignia of NATO. Major non-NATO ally. List of military equipment of NATO. List of countries in Europe by military expenditures. Similar organizations. AUKUS, Australia, United Kingdom, United States. ANZUS, Australia, New Zealand, United States Security Treaty. Collective Security Treaty Organization, CSTO, Russia and some former Soviet republics. Five Eyes, Australia, Canada, New Zealand, United Kingdom, United States Intelligence Services. Five Power Defense Arrangements, FPDA. Free World Military Assistance Forces, FMAF. Inter-American Treaty of Reciprocal Assistance. Islamic Military Counter-Terrorism Coalition, IMC. Middle East Treaty Organization, NATO. Northeast Asia Treaty Organization, NATO. Shanghai Cooperation Organization, SCO. South Atlantic Peace and Cooperation Zone. Southeast Asia Treaty Organization, SEATO. United Nations Command, UNC. Balkan Pact, SFR Yugoslavia with NATO members Greece and Turkey. References
Good. Let's close. So I will charge the camcorder, then read something tomorrow. I like to start cook some food, so I will upload the video. I have it on my list here.